From a plane crashing on the runway to one that lost its engine mid-flight, to one that plunged into the sea with its passengers. These are the shocking air accidents and errors captured on camera.
Viewer discretion is advised. In today's video, we'll analyze real air accident footage and uncover what really happened behind each case. Starting with a plane that crashed on landing, setting everything in its path ablaze.
From the beginning, it can be seen how the plane loses its landing gear and simply slides along the ground, causing its tragic end.
If you think that's a bad accident, next we'll see how a bad landing can lead to a bad accident.
In the end, it all turns out to be an error on the part of the pilot, in the directions and handling he had of the plane.
But what happens when you don't take safety precautions upon landing?
Sometimes a bad decision, speed, movement, and landing can turn into a catastrophe. Luckily, the pilot of the plane ended up in good condition.
Below, you will see 4 bad decisions made by pilots that end in disaster.
But what happens when you lose your balance while piloting an airplane? Although the pilot made no mistake, exposing his vision was dangerous. But what happens when a plane ends up crashing in front of a public beach? And what happens when you lose control of the steering wheel of an airplane?
And if you think those accidents are dangerous, they don't compare to accidents caused by high-speed jets like this one.
Now imagine you're piloting a jet at high speed, but you can't control it. You lose control and you have to eject. Luckily, the pilot is safe and sound.
But what happens when pilot negligence is taken to extremes that result in accidents and crashes?
If you don't judge the drop on the highway correctly, you could end up like this person in a bad landing. When you misjudge the distance on the highway, what happens when an airshow goes wrong?
But what would happen if you were a passenger on a plane and saw the engine of your plane about to fall? This is what happened to this passenger.
It should be noted that no one was injured, and the plane managed to land in good condition, although afterwards the plane had to be sent for maintenance.
Next, we will see more plane crashes resulting from bad decisions made by pilots in seconds.
What happens when a plane crashes in front of your property? Or how to save yourself from a horrible accident in seconds. How do you go from a near disastrous accident to a smooth flight?
No, don't crash! Whoa! 1 Sierra Bravo going around. 1 Sierra Bravo, Roger, you can...
What happens when you don't slow down to the proper speed for a safe landing?
But if what you just saw surprises you, Put yourself in the position of the driver you'll see next.
Imagine you're driving down the road and a plane crashes in front of you. Would people believe you when you told them? Have you ever wondered why it's important for pilots to work on their reflexes?
Next, you'll see one of the most shocking accidents ever captured on camera, a plane crashing into the sea. Before we continue, would you dare to uncover the truth behind the world's most mysterious air disasters? In my new ebook, you'll explore some of the most shocking aviation tragedies in history, from flight MH370 to the tragic crash that inspired a famous movie series. Each page reveals the hidden truth, 30,000 feet above the ground. If you want to know what really happened, the link is below. Now let's continue with the video.
Imagine being a passenger and the pilot of the plane says over the loudspeaker, "Prepare for impact." This happened on Air Niugini flight.
But accidents don't only happen in the air, some even happen before takeoff.
An airplane is preparing to take off, but it starts to experience problems. And as a result, the following happens.
Wow, look at that. Look at that wing. Oh my goodness, look at the back of the plane, man.
Next, we will see more air accidents involving people who did not exercise professional care while flying.
From poor helicopter piloting, even a bad helicopter landing. Luckily, the pilot is in good health, and there would only have been financial losses. When a routine exercise goes wrong. What happens when you give the controller to an amateur and they don't follow the instructions? A disastrous result.
Next, we will see an emergency plane land on a highway.
Imagine you're driving on the highway at night, and suddenly you see a plane park in front of you. What would you do?
But what happens when the accident occurs because the driver doesn't know how to brake in time and ends up creating an accident?
Unfortunately, this driver not only braked poorly, but also panicked and swerved sharply, making the accident worse. In this case, the pilot was afraid to take off and fly, and that same fear made him brake and cause a minor accident.
Next, we will see what happens when an airplane does not brake in time and causes a chaotic accident.
It's moving so fast. Oh my god. Oh! It's not stopping. Oh.
Luckily, nobody got hurt.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that is badass.
Next, we'll see a rather strange accident.
Although the accident seems silly, it ended in the best possible way. There was no major financial damage and no further serious incident occurred.
What happens when you put many inexperienced people behind the wheel? Of course, these accidents you'll see below.
From a near accident caused by a person who doesn't know how to wait. Or perhaps an inexperienced helicopter pilot caused a disaster. But luckily, no one was hurt, only material damage. Or when you perform a risky maneuver. But what happens when you make a bad landing, but you're an excellent pilot who knows how to minimize the damage? Fortunately, this accident didn't escalate to more serious damage, only minor material damage.
Next, you will see how not only amateur pilots have accidents, but also planes from large airlines with experienced pilots can have accidents.
Starting with a very important and well-known airline, we can see how an American Airlines plane had problems with its tires and brakes. But luckily, it was only minor mechanical damage. Let's look at this same situation, but from another part of the world, in Ireland.
Next, we will see 3 separate cases that could have ended in a very serious accident, but luckily everything turned out all right.
From a landing that runs out of highway and ends up crashing. Now imagine you're flying with your daughter, and she starts hearing strange noises on the plane. And when you look out the window, you see this. What would you do? What happens when you manage to avoid an accident in a matter of seconds?
Have you ever wondered what an emergency plane crash looks like from the pilot's perspective? This is what happened in this situation.
A pilot faces a tense moment when he has to make an emergency landing in the middle of a busy highway. Luckily, the pilot manages to avoid all the vehicles and prevents the accident from becoming a tragedy.
Below you will see different incidents that could have ended in a catastrophic accident. Remember, if you are going to operate an aircraft, you must always be careful.
From a faulty assembly on an airplane wing. Even an airplane that is approaching dangerously. A landing that, in its final moments, ends up losing some pieces. What happens when a helicopter has a mechanical failure that causes the pilot to lose control of the vehicle? What happens when you irresponsibly open an airplane door in mid-air? Imagine you are on a golf course playing with your friends and suddenly an airplane approaches. What happens when an airplane misjudges the dimensions of its parking space and causes a collision? What happens when the wheels, designed to brake, fail to support the weight and force upon landing?
And lastly, I'll show you an accident where the pilot had to bail out to avoid a crash. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you. You can support me by subscribing. See you next time, and here's the last video.
Imagine you are flying through the skies, and you notice that the plane you are in has a critical malfunction, and you have to bail out. Tell me, would you have the courage to jump out of the air alone?